On January 13, 2014, U.S. Army veteran Chad Olson went to see Lone Survivor with his wife at the Cobb Grove 16 Theater in Wesley Chapel, Florida. What started as a quiet movie night would end in tragedy. Sitting behind them was Curtis Reeves, a retired Tampa police captain and former SWAT commander. During the previews, Chad briefly checked his phone to text the babysitter of his young daughter. Reeves became irritated and confronted him about using the device. Reeves left to complain to theater management, then returned to his seat. Moments later, popcorn was reportedly thrown. Within seconds, Reeves pulled a concealed handgun and fired one shot, striking Chad in the chest. He died later that day. Reeves claimed he acted in self-defense, saying he feared serious harm. His legal team sought immunity under Florida's Stand Your Ground law, but a judge denied that request before trial. In February 2022, after years of legal battles and delays, a jury found Curtis Reeves not guilty of second-degree murder. The case sparked nationwide debate over gun laws, self-defense claims, and how a brief argument inside a movie theater escalated into a deadly shooting.
On January 3, 2022, a 911 call came from Slaughter, Louisiana. The caller was Sheila Fletcher. She told dispatchers her 36-year-old daughter, Lacey Fletcher, was unresponsive at their home. When police and paramedics arrived, they found Lacey's body on a couch in the living room. What they saw shocked even experienced investigators. According to the East Feliciana Parish coroner, it was one of the worst cases he had ever seen. Lacey, who had autism, weighed only about 96 pounds. She was found sitting upright, partially fused to the couch after years of severe neglect. Investigators said she had been left in the same position for an extended period, surrounded by waste, suffering from infections and malnutrition. Her parents, Sheila and Clay Fletcher, were later charged. In 2024, they each pleaded no contest to manslaughter and were sentenced to prison. A case that shocked Louisiana and left many asking how this could go unnoticed for so long.
In 1988, 19-year-old Tara Lee Calico disappeared while bike riding near her home in Bella, New Mexico. She left early on September 20 for her usual 36-mile ride along State Road 47 and was never seen again. Witnesses later reported seeing her riding her mother's neon pink Huffy bicycle that morning, but Tara, her bike, and her belongings vanished. Investigators did find fragments of her Sony Walkman and cassette tape scattered along her route, but no clues to her whereabouts. Nearly 9 months later, a disturbing Polaroid turned up in a Florida convenience store parking lot. It showed a young woman and boy bound and gagged in what appeared to be the back of a van, the girl bearing a striking resemblance to Tara. Her family believed it was her, even noting a scar on the leg and an iconic paperback next to the pair, but authorities, including the FBI, could not confirm the identities. The case remained cold for decades, though law enforcement continued investigating. In June 2023, New Mexico authorities announced they had gathered enough evidence to possibly pursue charges, but no arrests have been made, and Tara's fate is still unknown. Decades after she vanished, the disappearance of Tara Calico remains one of America's most haunting unsolved mysteries, a young life that vanished on a routine morning ride, leaving more questions than answers. In the early morning of October 6, 1995, 15-year-old Nicole van den Hurk left her home in Eindhoven, the Netherlands, heading to her bakery job. She never arrived. 6 weeks later, her body was found in a wooded area. She had been sexually assaulted and murdered. Despite years of investigation, police couldn't identify a suspect. The case eventually went cold, leaving Nicole's family without answers. In 2011, Nicole's stepbrother, Andy van den Hurk, posted a shocking confession on Facebook, claiming he committed the crime. He was arrested, but the confession was false. Andy later admitted he did it to force police to reopen the case. The case was reopened. Nicole's body was exhumed, and new DNA testing identified a suspect, Jos de G. He was arrested in January 2014. In 2018, after legal proceedings and appeals, Jos de G was convicted and sentenced to 14 years in prison for the rape and murder of Nicole van den Hurk. More than 20 years later, justice was finally served. On April 28, 2014, 15-year-old Will Cornick carried out a planned attack that shocked the UK. In the weeks before the killing, Cornick had asked other students if they would help him murder his Spanish teacher, even offering money. They refused. He told one friend he would do it himself. That morning, during a lesson at Corpus Christi Catholic College in Leeds, he stood up from his seat, walked behind his teacher, and stabbed her multiple times in the back and neck in front of the class. The victim, Anne McGuire, was 61 years old. She had taught at the school for decades and was just months away from retirement. She later died from her injuries after her jugular vein was severed. After the attack, Cornick reportedly bought whiskey and was described as showing no immediate remorse. He later told a psychiatrist he felt fine. At Leeds Crown Court, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 20 years. A classroom became a crime scene, and a community was left devastated.
23-year-old Denise Huber was living with her family in California when she disappeared without a trace on June 3, 1991. The search team tried to locate her until the case was declared cold. In July 1994, a couple was involved in a business deal with John Familaro, a man living in Prescott, Arizona. When they came to John's house, they noticed an oddly parked truck. Their intuition told them something was wrong, so they copied the license plate number and forwarded it to a police officer. Officers discovered that the truck had been stolen. When they came to investigate, they saw a freezer. Inside the freezer, the officers found a body handcuffed behind her back, on her knees, with her head bowed. This body was determined to be that of Denise Huber. John Familaro has been on death row for decades.
Bianca Michelle Devins was 17 years old. She lived with her parents in Utica, New York. Like many teenagers, she spent a lot of time online, building friendships through social media. In April 2019, she met 21-year-old Brandon Clark on Instagram. Clark wanted a romantic relationship. Bianca did not. On July 13, 2019, Bianca, Clark, and a mutual friend traveled to New York City for a concert. After the show, Clark drove Bianca back to Utica during the night. Sometime in the early morning hours of July 14th, an argument began. Clark was reportedly angry after learning Bianca had kissed someone else at the concert. The confrontation escalated. Clark attacked Bianca with a knife, killing her. After the murder, he took graphic photographs of her body and posted them online. The image has spread rapidly across social media before being removed, shocking people across the country. Police tracked Clark down shortly after. He attempted to take his own life, but survived and was taken into custody. The case drew national attention and sparked conversations about online obsession, violence, and the speed at which disturbing content can spread on the internet. On March 16, 2021, Brandon Clark was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison after pleading guilty to second-degree murder. Bianca Devins was 17 years old.